Hey, 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 my YouTube peeps. How is everybody doing today? Listen, I had no idea that I was going to be able to come back and speak with you so quickly. My schedule is absolutely insane, and I did not think I was going to have the opportunity to make another video anytime soon. But we're going to stick with the meat and the potatoes today. We're going to leave the visionary supplements to a bare minimum so I can get this out to you. Okay? Let's start here. I do not buy into the left or right. Both are flawed and worthy of vetting. Today I'm going to address one of the right's favorite sons and possibly some other issues like how to frame racism for the win. Yeah. And maybe we'll throw in a little bit about classism as well. Kind of hard to speak about one intelligently and not address the other. We have a world that is percolating with traitorous political leaders, pundits that have chained their perception and strangled their morality. I think you all will agree. They use narratives that play on racial division and to misdirect public discourse. We stumble about due to our insistence on not vetting and observing the likes of, closely observing that is, the likes of Glenn Beck and the Breitbarts. Did I say his name correctly? The guy who just recently passed. I can never say his name correctly. And the Breitbarts, or Andrews, let's just leave it at that, and the Andrews of the world. And the media masters love this so much, they eat it up. Even the villain deserves a shout out when they repeatedly are successful. So, shout outs to all of the villains on the right and the puppet masters that allow them to have a stage. What I didn't notice for most of my 20s and did not have the proper alignment of thought required to articulate this in my 30s is that propaganda masters love a good meme. Simple as that. Yeah, really, it took me 2 decades to really understand that statement. Those who do not know what a meme is do not feel ill-informed. It is a word that's definition appears to change clothes depending upon who you talk with. I like this definition: a unit of cultural information that represents a basic idea that can be transferred from one individual to another and subjected to mutation, crossover, and adaptation. Specifically, what I struggled with was the genie in the bottle. What I have observed is that predominant memes in our popular culture carries a core that contains the claim that the predominant memes are in opposition to the actual dominant memes. Yeah, sounds confusing, doesn't it? But I guarantee you that it isn't. So, let me give you an example. If the meme is racism is nothing more than personal prejudice, the claim being personal prejudice is equated to racism. This opposes reality, or the actual predominant meme, which is reality. But we accept the other meme, which is popular, as truth, and it thrives in a popular state of being. The reality of this case is racism actually has an individual and group component. When looking at the collectivist reinforcement, we see that racism is indeed rooted in systems, rooted very deep into systems, nor does it have to be overt or intentional. We tend to like to believe that racism has to be intentional or overt in its presentation. It's a lot more insidious than that. The legal systems, though corrupt, had to acknowledge that this is not merely individual bias that we are addressing here. Racism like class is like a soup. It's a mixture, and yet it isn't, all at the same time, thriving in an integrated state. Or I should say, when it is integrated, that it enables the other. So racism like class concerns is integrated into institutional rules due to the belief systems of individuals. Again, racism like class concerns is integrated into institutional rules due to the belief systems of individuals. Very simple, yet we forget this. Or we ignore it, I should say. This can be expressed in written or unwritten formats, which enables classism and racism. So it's my advice that we trash the idea that racism is solely individual and classism is systemic. When the dreaded racial disparities, both in depth and in consistency, are addressed, virtually in every arena they are found, yet when we examine them, we can pretty much only agree on one thing, and that is our reality is fucked up. It does not matter how well intentioned a person is that constructs and implements the rules. We need to really understand this. Individual intention is not the only picture or even the main story here. The left gets class and fails with race, and the right peppers everything, it seems these days, with race, even if it does it subtly, and uses class as a weapon. But then will come back with racism to finish you off if it's necessary to do so. No one appears to be occupied with the actual healing of class and race divide. To eliminate or to highly diminish both of those would put the left and the right out of business. So they mutually agree silently to allow it to fester. Now, I am not stating that there are individuals within both sides of this dynamic that agree to this, but in actuality, they are not the ones with the power, and the ones with the power are the ones I am addressing. This along with race baiting. And a race baiter, in case you don't know, I'll give you my definition of what a race baiter is. I see a race baiter as a person who insinuates that racism is a dominant factor regarding an event that does not involve race, or a person who exploits racial tensions for personal gain, or a person who uses race as a way of manipulating people into certain beliefs. Yeah, I like that. This keeps the fourth branch of government, the media, going very strong, don't you know? And yes, I know there's only 3 branches of government, but as far as I'm concerned, you might as well think of the media as a 4th branch. It is very convenient and easy to keep people off track regarding valid claims, as well as false narratives that pick at the scab of racial divisions and class divisions. The right especially loves this course of action because it disables truth found via discernment and expressed in valid conversations, making diversion, dodging, and overshadowing the primary tools that make the win possible for them. It's easy to achieve your objective when you use one of those 3 methods in order to avoid reality or to frame reality the way that you see fit. It also allows one to claim a concern is started or slanted by race, when you're focused on race, that is. The right is very successful. I know I have fallen for it in the past in getting people to dwell on race concerns as a byproduct of class. Again, as a byproduct of class. They do this mainly by letting the left go unchallenged here. Of course, if an opposing side sees its opposition making an error, they will not correct them if it does not ultimately play to a bigger win. Ask any chess player this. When we look at the junction or the representation of common ground between race and class, we cannot deny it can be complicated. This helps the right, for it does two things. Let's use the function of vision in our discussion. One, it impairs or rids us of our peripheral vision. Boy, I butchered that word anyway. And it makes us color blind. Peripheral distortion is easy to vet within this context. Imagine an ideologue like Milton Friedman, and you'll get what I'm talking about here. Basically, we narrow our scope, leaving it unchallenged due to a fake sense of reality loyalty. Now, I know that's really strange coupling of words, but when we are loyal to our reality and refuse to question it because we are so convinced that we are correct, then this occurs. However, color blindness here is only regarding the distinguishing particulars found via careful scrutiny. So we lose the importance of chromatic colors and only see the primary colors. See, this limited answer keeps the confusion strong between the working class whites and the working class blacks. Let's just use that dynamic. Solidarity is only seen as a pipe dream when this happens. So class may be the bigger picture, but we live in a world where its relationship to race can't be rationally denied. Anyway, I can give all of my attention to the right. I refuse to throw my rocks and hide my hand, however. The left has proven themselves to be cowards, for they remain silent here. And I know that's a little harsh, but if I can dish it out to the right, I can dish it out to the left. Meaning that when they remain silent, that they allow a distortion to linger regarding the function of race. Let's be real. The political designations of right wing and left wing is a false dichotomy. Issues today are rarely black or white, though I am not saying that A does not equal A. So all of you people out there that would like to think that I am reducing my mentality to something so simplistic, well, fuck you. However, issues today are rarely black or white, but shades of gray. Let's not be fooled into thinking that this setup solely exists so one can claim group membership or lambaste a foe. I would argue its primary function is to preserve the us versus them dynamic. Progress in the social arena and particular philosophical viewpoints are swept up and jailed via the categories of left and right. I use these terms for conversational purposes. I do not play into them in my real life, or I am very vigilant not to play into them. I acknowledge, if we examine the popular lexicon, that I am both left and right simultaneously. I have attributes of both camps. I am so much so that the left and the right rarely appears to exist the more you get to know me. And there are some people on YouTube that know me in my real life, so they can vouch for this. Anyway, so while I do not play into this either or category, I live in a world that insists that I acknowledge that others have. Well, that's all I got. Thank you. Thank you for your time.